My name is Sarah. I am 32 years old, and the day that was supposed to be the happiest of my life turned into a public humiliation I will never forget. I was in the bridal suite, staring at the mirror, when my sister walked in holding a massive glass of red wine. She did not even pretend to trip. She just looked me dead in the eyes, smiled a twisted smile, and threw the entire glass right onto my custom white silk gown, seconds before I was supposed to walk down the aisle. The cold liquid soaked to my skin, matching the sudden freeze in my heart. As the chaos erupted, I realized this was just the beginning of a nightmare that would lead to a moment 5 years later where the tables would completely turn. Growing up in a quiet suburb of Chicago, I always knew my older sister, Chloe, who is now 34 years old, had a deep problem with me. It was a dark, rotting jealousy. If I got a good grade, she would tear up my homework. My parents always excused her behavior, saying she was just sensitive. I spent my childhood walking on eggshells. Things escalated when I met Mark. Mark, a 33-year-old architect with a heart of gold, saw right through Chloe's manipulative games from day one. When Mark proposed, I was absolutely ecstatic. But the moment we announced our engagement, I saw that familiar, terrifying look in Chloe's eyes. It was a mixture of pure rage and calculation. She immediately started criticizing the ring. Mark just held my hand, silently promising we would not let her ruin our happiness. But I should have known better. The months leading up to the wedding were an absolute battlefield. Chloe demanded to be the maid of honor, and my mother guilt-tripped me. From that moment on, she sabotaged everything. She purposely booked the wrong flowers, trying to replace my elegant white roses with cheap, garish orange lilies. Every time I tried to confront her, she would burst into fake tears, playing the victim. My best friend, Emma, who is 32 years old and fiercely loyal, kept me sane. "I am telling you, Sarah, she is actively trying to destroy this for you. You cannot trust her," Emma warned me one night, looking at me with deep concern. I sighed, rubbing my tired face. "If I kick her out, my parents will boycott the whole thing. I just have to survive this one day." I was so incredibly naive to think Chloe would let me have my perfect moment. The morning of the wedding started beautifully. The sun was shining over the historic estate we had rented in upstate New York. I felt a sense of overwhelming peace as my hair and makeup were done. For a few hours, Chloe was nowhere to be found, and I let myself relax. Emma was by my side, making sure I ate and drank water. The dress was hanging on the closet door, a breathtaking vintage gown that had taken me months to find. It was perfect. I finally slipped into the dress, and when I looked in the mirror, I cried. I felt truly beautiful. The string quartet was playing outside, and I could hear the murmur of our guests taking their seats. I was 10 minutes away from marrying the love of my life, feeling like I had finally won against all the odds. Then, the door to the bridal suite swung open. Chloe walked in already holding a massive glass of dark red wine. Who even drinks red wine right before a mourning ceremony? The moment I saw her face, my stomach dropped. Emma immediately stepped forward, sensing the danger, but she was not fast enough. "Oops," Chloe said, her voice dripping with venom, and she violently swung her arm, splashing the entire glass of wine directly onto my chest. The dark red stain bloomed instantly across the delicate white silk, ruining the dress completely. The room went dead silent. The cold liquid seeped through to my skin. Emma screamed and grabbed a towel, frantically trying to blot the stain, but it was useless. Chloe just stood there, feigning a pathetic look of shock. "Oh my gosh, I tripped," she cried loudly. There was no rug. A million questions exploded in my head. Was I a fool for letting her near me? A cold chill ran down my spine, not from anger, but from pure humiliation. Mark rushed into the room, having heard the commotion. When he saw me, his face went pale, and then his eyes locked onto Chloe. "Get out," he told her, his voice shaking with a terrifying, quiet rage. My mother came running in, immediately trying to defend Chloe, saying it was an accident. That was the breaking point for me. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. My family would never protect me from her. I looked at Mark, tears streaming down my face, and whispered that I could not walk out there like a tragic joke. We canceled the reception. The guests were sent home. My dream wedding was completely dead. The next day, Mark and I went to the local courthouse. We wore plain clothes, signed the papers, and got married with just Emma as our witness. That same afternoon, I blocked my parents and my sister on every platform. I sent an email to my mother stating I no longer had a family. The financial loss from the canceled reception was massive. Mark and I had to move into a tiny, cramped apartment to save money. We ate pasta almost every night, but the anger inside me was a powerful fuel. I channeled every ounce of my betrayal into my career. Emma and I pooled our meager savings and registered our own public relations firm. I realized that the worst had already happened to me, and I had survived it. I had nothing left to lose. We were ready to fight for our future. For 5 years, my routine was absolutely brutal. I would wake up at 5 in the morning, answer emails, and cold call potential clients until noon. Then I would go to a part-time job as a waitress to pay the rent, coming home at midnight just to work on marketing strategies. There were nights when I sat on the floor crying into Mark's shoulder. "You are building an empire, Sarah," Mark would whisper. His unwavering belief in me kept me going through the darkest and hardest days. The turning point came in our 3rd year when we won a massive contract with a tech startup. That single victory changed everything. Word of mouth spread. By year 5, Emma and I were the proud owners of one of the most sought-after PR firms in the city, operating out of a gorgeous high-rise office downtown. I had transformed my pain into a multi-million-dollar reality. I had not spoken to my family in 5 years. My life was finally full of love, immense success, and deep peace. Then, one Tuesday morning, my HR manager walked into my office. "Sarah, we have a candidate for the executive assistant position. Her resume is a bit spotty, but she is very persistent. She is waiting in the lobby." I took the folder and flipped it open. The name at the top of the page made my blood run freezing cold. Chloe Jenkins. My sister. I stared at the paper, my mind struggling to process the reality. She was applying for a job at my company without knowing I was the CEO. The company was registered under a completely different corporate name. The universe was playing a joke on me. 5 years ago, she had reduced me to tears. Now she was begging for a paycheck. A storm of emotions hit me all at once. Panic, anger, and then a slow, profound sense of calm. I buzzed my HR manager. "Send her into my office, please. I will conduct this interview personally." I sat behind my massive mahogany desk, folded my hands, and waited for the inevitable reunion. My heart pounded a steady, powerful rhythm. The door slowly swung open. Chloe walked in with a fake, practiced smile pasted on her face. She was holding a cheap briefcase, and she looked exhausted. The arrogance that used to radiate from her was gone, replaced by a desperate energy. "Good morning. Thank you so much for seeing me," she began. When her eyes finally met mine, the color drained entirely from her face. Her jaw dropped, and the briefcase slipped from her trembling fingers. "Sarah?" she whispered in absolute shock. "Hello, Chloe," I said, my voice perfectly level and devoid of any emotion. "Please, take a seat." She stood there frozen before clumsily sitting down in the chair across from me. She looked around the massive office, connecting the dots. You own this company?" she stammered, her eyes wide. "Emma and I built it from the ground up." "Now, let us look at your resume. It says here you were fired from your last 3 jobs. You have been unemployed for 8 months due to severe interpersonal conflicts. That is quite a track record." I watched her squirm in the chair, feeling the intense shift in power. She was at my mercy, and she knew it. The woman who ruined my wedding was now a terrified applicant sitting in my empire. Chloe's tough exterior crumbled instantly. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time they were not fake. "Sarah, please," she begged, her voice cracking with pure desperation. "I have nothing. Mom and Dad went bankrupt trying to bail me out of debt, and they will not speak to me either. I lost my apartment. I am sleeping on a friend's couch. I need this job. I am desperate." I listened to her sob, feeling a strange detachment. I thought about the ruined wedding dress. I thought about the months of eating plain pasta while trying to build a future. She had destroyed my special day without a second thought, and now she wanted me to save her from the consequences. I am sorry. I was so jealous of you and Mark. Please just give me a chance, she cried loudly. It was the first time I had ever heard her apologize. But it was too late. The apology was born out of desperation, not genuine remorse. I closed her file and handed it back to her. I appreciate your honesty, Chloe, but my company is my sanctuary. I employ people who lift each other up. Your presence here would be a poison. Chloe looked up, horrified by the cold reality of my words. You are rejecting me? I am your sister. You would let me end up on the street? I stood up, smoothing down my tailored suit. You stopped being my sister the moment you threw that wine on my dress and smiled. You made your choices. Now you have to live with them. The interview is over. I pressed the intercom button. Security, please escort Miss Jenkins to the lobby. Her face twisted back into that bitter anger I knew so well. You are a cold, heartless witch, she screamed at me. She pointed a shaking finger at me. You think you're so much better than me just because you have money now. I did not blink. I am not better than you because of the money, Chloe, I said quietly. I am better than you because I build things and you only know how to destroy. The security guard opened the door and she was forced to walk out, sobbing and cursing my name. When she was gone, Emma walked into my office and pulled me into a tight hug. A massive weight finally lifted. My revenge was not denying her a job. My revenge was being happy, successful, and completely unaffected by her darkness. I had survived the worst she could do, and I had come on top. I was finally free. Looking back at everything, I learned that sometimes the universe breaks your heart just to force you onto the path you were always meant to walk. If Chloe had not ruined my wedding day, I might have never found the fire inside me to build this empire and claim my own true self-worth. Cutting toxic family members out of your life is the hardest thing you will ever do, but it is also the most necessary step toward protecting your peace and your future. Sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones who want to see you bleed the most, and walking away is your only survival tactic. Would you have given your sister a second chance in this situation, or would you have shown her the door just like I did? Thank you for listening to my journey. Until the next story.